When I think of villain fathers or simply villain dads, I think of characters like the President from the Bacon Hair, the Bacon General from The Last Guess, and I'm guessing Pagan Min from Far Cry 4, considering what is revealed at the end of the game if you choose not to shoot him, and maybe Joseph Seed from Far Cry New Dawn, even though technically he wouldn't count since, yeah, he was a villain in Far Cry 5, but he is downgraded from antagonist to just, I guess, being there. Anyhow, I am not going to be talking about these fathers because as much as I want to dive into the psychology of the President and basically analyze him as a character, which is what I was originally going to do, but since Oblivious HD decided to just randomly pop back in and apparently the Bacon Hair 4 is no longer cancelled, rather it's in production again, I'll have to work on that video when the Bacon Hair 4 is released, so that way I can go really deep into talking about him. I even have the thumbnail prepared since I like to make thumbnails first before writing the script, so I have a good idea of what I want the video to be about. So in this video, I'll be talking about the villain father from the really old Minecraft animated series by a guy that you guys may recognize if you were watching his Monster School videos, that being WillCraft or WillCraft Animations. And this villain that I'll be talking about is the Endermaster from the Minecraft series Endventures. Endventures is an animated Minecraft series created by WillCraft when he was a teenager. It is basically about these humans trying to survive and live another day because the Endermaster and his army of Endermen are trying to kill them, as well as trying to take over the overworld. So these humans, Colin's pet pig who can fight because he is a battle pig and for some reason his owner decided to name him Porky, which is the most insane name to give to a pig. Like I get it, it's a reference to Porky Pig, but still, we also have a part Enderman, part human on the team, as well as two normally hostile mobs who also want to help.
Go warn the others. Tell them shit's hit the fan.
The clock says him being fan of hitting shit.
However, again, I'll not be talking about them, I'll be focusing all of my sweet attention on the Endermaster. And I may do a video talking about Endventures next time, since that is my current hyperfixation right now. So yeah, friendship ended with the Bacon Hair. Now, 12-year-old Minecraft series is my best friend. Oh, and in this video, I'll be ignoring the episodes that WillCraft had considered non-canon, aka the unlisted videos, which means episode 1 to 6 will be ignored. And I have no promise with ignoring episode 4 because the Endermaster used an able slur in this episode, which honestly I don't imagine him ever doing that. And in episode 2, he seems to play off as a goofy villain rather than a proper serious villain dad. And I'll also be using info that was gathered from the official WillCraft Animations wiki. And yes, there's a wiki for the series, and yes, it's official. And lastly, I'll also be using information for the Endventures closure video too, because that video contains information about the Endermaster, as well as a deep dive a bit deeper into what his character would have been if WillCraft had finished the series. And that said, I'm going to start talking about way before he became the Endermaster in the first place, back when he was a human. Okay, far back. Yeah, much better. So, the human Endermaster, actually that'll sound like a mouthful for me to say, so for the sake of this video, and to speed it up a bit, I'm just gonna call his human form Hem. So Hem was born into the Griefer Shadowland. And the Griefer Shadowland is basically a huge area with a bedrock wall surrounding it to prevent any griefers from escaping, because apparently years ago the admin of the main city, back when he was still alive, banished the griefers there to prevent them from messing with the city and world. Honestly, if I was the admin, I would have just banned all the griefers rather than building an entire area for them to live in, but whatever. And get this, according to the wiki, the griefers, since they don't have anyone else to grief, they end up just having children with each other, and then they end up tormenting said kid, which of course means Hem. Hem was one of those kids. So yeah, that's pretty fucked up backstory, cause imagine being born only because your parents want someone to bully. That is pretty messed up. So Hem was emotionally, and most likely also physically scarred by these griefers, which would also mess with his view on humans, because like WillCraft said in his Endventures closure video,
he has only ever known griefers, so he is under the impression that all humans are like that.
The events most definitely given him some form of PTSD. as well as depression, especially when you learn that you were only born into the world because your parents want someone to torment. Therefore, he believes that all humans are just like griefers, which is why he wants them all enslaved and killed. Hem did thankfully escape the Shadowlands thanks to an Enderman named Entray, who for some reason was inside the Shadowlands. I don't think WillCraft gave a reason why Entray was in the Shadowlands in the first place. At first I thought maybe it's because he's spawning, but then I remember Rekka existing, and I ain't going to dive into his entire backstory because it's quite something. So Hem was running away from his tormentors while holding a baby chicken, which I presume was spawning thanks to the griefers throwing eggs. If you play Minecraft, if you throw an egg, there's a chance that a baby chicken was spawning or hatch in the game. But then again, where the hell did griefers get eggs from? Hem is also shown to be selfless in the scene because when he reached Entray, he begged him to teleport the chicken out so it could get to safety, not care for himself at all. And instead of Entray saving the chicken, he kills them both. Haha, just kidding. What actually happened is he ends up teleporting both him and the chicken out of the Griefer Shadowland. The reason for this is because he realized how selfless the child was, and therefore, not all griefers are selfless. So, he should not be here, and Entray ends up becoming his best friend. But I also like to think that Entray also becomes his caretaker, because I mean, this is a kid, and I don't think Hem can look after himself. But then again, he did somehow survive the Griefer Shadowland without being blown up or killed. Years later, he is now an adult, and he lives in a village full of villagers, which you might think, hang on a minute, I thought he can't trust humans. All I can say to that is, WillCraft written the backstory of him as a child after he written the one of him as an adult. And the reason he even chose to do the child backstory is because he realized that the whole "is the end crystal that made him insane" backstory doesn't really work out. And so he rewritten it in a way to show that Hem was already distrusting of humans before the crystal possessed his mind. Of course, there's a reason why he trusts his villagers. It's because he either doesn't see them as humans, or Entray convinced him that they are exactly like humans. There isn't a clear answer, and even the wiki doesn't know, and even said straight up to think of something to get around the plot hole. Anyways, so Hem encounters a green robe-wearing villager who somehow was able to get an end crystal from the end, and he ends up selling it to Hem for a bunch of emeralds. Should really be a red flag considering that green robe villagers didn't exist until the Villager Pillage update. But that is it. And another red flag being the fact that the villagers sold him a fucking end crystal, which is impossible, but Hem ignored the red flags and ends up buying it from him. Which makes me believe that he is a naive man back then, or that he trusts his villagers more than actual humans because, well, you know, what he experienced back then. And he was able to bring it inside his small house, and that's when we meet Entray again. And as you can see, he has to wear a pumpkin in order to prevent himself from provoking him, which is honestly just sad. Like, I know this backstory was written before the childhood one, and it wasn't really planned out, but imagine befriending this Enderman since you were a kid, the same Enderman who rescued you, but as soon as you're adult, you have to wear a pumpkin just so you can look him in the eyes, and so he doesn't end up turning you to mincemeat. Another thing about Hem is, according to the wiki, he's a scientist before he became the Endermaster. And I can kind of see that, considering he wanted to study the end crystal and see if he could somehow make it be able to heal humans, which confused me. But then I have to remember that the backstory was written before his childhood one, so I'm only assuming that he's talking about himself, the villagers, or he's planning to one day try and conquer his fear of other people and want to share the end crystal with them. After a while of experimenting, he unfortunately still hasn't got it, and that's when he receives a knock, or more accurately, a bang at the door because of how this guy knocked. "Open the fucking door, I want to sell you something!" So this green robe villager asks him about his experimenting, which Hem is confused on how the hell this creepy villager knew about it, and then the villager offers to give him a potion for free because in his own words,
"But I have a potion that can help you. You can have it for free since you bought the crystal."
Okay, but that's a massive red flag right there, and I'm absolutely shocked that Hem just didn't see anything wrong with a villager giving him a potion for free. Because, if you know, villagers don't normally give shit for free. It normally costs us emeralds or a different item. You know, a trade. And no surprise, this villager turns into this thing, which I'll explain soon on what that thing is. So Hem pours a single shot of potion into the end crystal, and it ends up affecting Entray, giving him super speed, and so he ends up pouring more into the crystal, which starts to affect Hem, and Entray tries to save him, but when he's trying to teleport, his limbs teleport without him because the crystal ended up corrupting his teleportation. And that's not all it corrupted. Hem is completely different too now. And staring down at him like some perv is Herobrine. So yeah, that monster that the villager turned into was actually one of Herobrine's minions. And Herobrine ends up kidnapping Hem. And you might be asking, why? Why does he want to just randomly corrupt Hem for and make him into a part Enderman, part human thing? Well, I'll tell you. End up making an Endventures review video. But that's if I end up getting around making it. Hem wakes up to find himself in the end and realize that he is now completely different. Entray teleports next to him because he was looking everywhere for him. Then the Ender Dragon, who is the ruler of the end according to Entray, attacks Hem. But he was able to teleport out of the way, and knowing that the Ender Dragon spawns a portal to the overworld, if killed, which I'm only assuming he probably read about that in a book, or I don't know, the crystal corruption is telling him to do that or something. So he took some end pearls from 2 Endermen and was able to levitate a obsidian block towards him, before creating the infamous End Blade, which he uses to slay the dragon. Then once the portal has spawned in, he tried to exit the end, only to find that the portal will not work, which most likely has something to do with his Ender corruption. Also, I love that there are just Endermen standing behind him and not really doing anything.
He's just standing there, menacingly!
Hem decided to become the new ruler of the End and calls himself the Endermaster. So this is where I'll start calling him that to himself, Hem. He even murders Endermen who refused to accept the change, and he made Entray his general, despite Entray earlier being furious at him for killing their former leader, but however, he quickly changes his thoughts and immediately accepts the Endermaster as the ruler of the End. Which, my only thoughts on why he just changed his mind like that is because, like the Endermaster said, he was best friends with Entray for the longest of time, and Entray even rescued him from the grief of Shadowlands when he was a child. And I imagine that Entray probably would feel guilty if he chose to abandon the Endermaster, or betray him regardless of what he had become, and regardless how uncomfortable he feels. It makes me think that Entray is a people pleaser in some cases, as well as scared of disappointing or upsetting the Endermaster, as well as losing him, considering that he basically acted as his caretaker and best friend after rescuing him. Anyhow, the Endermaster was then later told by Entray that Endermen are planning to leave the End as they honestly don't like the fact that he is a ruler due to how cruel he is, which I couldn't blame them. So the Endermaster decided to use his magic to hatch the Ender Dragon egg, which would normally be impossible, and he was thankfully able to hatch the dragon out of the egg, so he doesn't need to do what Donkey did to that dragon in the Shrek series, which would honestly confuse me because just like Donkey and Dragon, how? The baby dragon ends up imprinting on him and sees the Endermaster as her father, which he chooses to take advantage of this, knowing full well that the dragon would easily obey him. Now, the reason the Endermaster chooses to hatch a Ender Dragon is because he knows full well that the Enderman obeys the Ender Dragon better and respects the dragon more than him. So he is basically using her as a pawn to keep the Enderman at check, because I'm sure they fear that if they disobey the Endermaster, then he would hurt or kill her or something, but that isn't the case. because over time he ends up getting attached to her and even named the dragon Endaria, as well as giving her a more human form. Which I have to say, I absolutely squeal as a kid when watching Endventures when I saw her baby form. She looks absolutely fucking adorable. And let me just say, the Endermaster may care for Endaria to the point that if he catches any Endermen say anything rude about her, because there are Endermen who don't really respect Endaria because of how her dad treats her, and the fact that she has a human form, he'll kill them like he did to the Imperial Guard. But listen, the Endermaster is honestly not a great father. He is honestly like the Baker General of Endventures. Like, here's some examples. He hits Endaria for failing her mission, or because she lied to her father saying that she is strong enough to go to the overworld. But she only did that because he was saying this to her.
Endaria, who has taken care of you since you were an egg and your mother was dead?
You have, father.
And what do you do when I tell you to do something?
I obey, father.
And who gave you the ability to grow bigger and stronger than any other Ender Dragon, and also gave you the power to take human shape?
You did, father. But can't you send me there in my human form? It's not as exhausting as having to do it in my dragon form.
No. You're too weak in your human form. You would not be able to do as much damage to the city, and you might even get killed. You know I do not want that. I expect you to be ready for your travel to the overworld as soon as possible.
Yes, father.
And the Endermaster also killed her mother, the Ender Dragon. And that's not all, by the way. The Endermaster uses Endaria as a way to justify killing humans.
I've spent 50 years here. I cannot stop thinking about the overworld. Even your kind believes it to be a better place than this pitiful island of a realm. Therefore, I will do what I did to this world. Enslave its inhabitants. Then, once I'm finally able to travel to the overworld, it will be under my control. Tell the Endermen that for now, it will kill humans on sight. When the overworld is in my grasp, I can live there with Endaria. She will be much happier there than in this excuse for a dimension. But I can't take her there in her human form before all the humans are under my control. And she can only remain in her dragon form for a limited time outside the end. If anything happens to her, I'll never be able to forgive myself.
And as he mentioned, everything happens to Endaria. He wouldn't forgive himself, which just shows how much he cares for his daughter to the point that he and his child has a telepathic connection. In the Endventures closure video, WillCraft mentions that Endaria sneaks off to the Nether so she can fight DK, or Wither King, and she ends up being killed, which the Endermaster felt this happen, and he becomes really enraged, which I have a question. If the Endermaster has a telepathic connection with Endaria, then why did he know that she was in the Nether? Like in part 11, he is able to talk to her through telepathy, but yet he doesn't know she was in the Nether till he felt her death. It's so confusing, but it's not the only confusing ability he has. Remember when I mentioned that he had hit Endaria for failing her mission in the overworld? Well, if you're wondering how he was able to transport her to the overworld, it's because he has the ability to do so. He has the ability to teleport an Ender Dragon into the overworld, which confuses me even more. Like, he is trapped in the end, right? And he has the power to just casually teleport an Ender Dragon into the overworld, right? Then why can't he just teleport himself to the overworld too? But yeah, my thoughts on the Endermaster is that he is a pretty complex villain, although there are a few glaring issues with him as a character. He does have a good voice, and that is all thanks to Max Muncher, who now goes by Max Will on YouTube. And he also apparently did the voice effects too. But the character itself doesn't feel threatening. The backstory is messy, and I do appreciate that WillCraft at least try to fix it, but unfortunately, the new backstory left a plot hole in the adult Endermaster backstory, and his abilities just don't make any sense unless it's just me. He honestly just feels like a weak villain, but that doesn't mean he is a terrible villain, or I think he's a bad character, because this series was made by a teenager after all, who was still trying to get his bearings when it comes to making a Minecraft series and writing one, so there is room for improvement, but unfortunately WillCraft had mentioned that he had cancelled Endventures, as well as his other Minecraft projects like the original Monstersville series, but I do hope that he can one day return to making Minecraft animations, but I doubt he will, which is perfectly okay, and I can only wish him for the best. But anyways, I do hope you enjoy my character analyzation of the Endermaster, and if you would like to see more videos like this, please comment below, like and subscribe, and maybe even support my co-founder. And if this video gets around 1k views, I may do a video talking about Reconnect, and I'll see you again soon. Bye!